All right, everybody, I am Andrew Baydala. That is Jordan Carter. We are live for No Dirt, Just Dialogue. Juice will be joining us very shortly. Jordan, it's been an interesting week. We had the AEW CEO, head booker, head of creative, Tony Khan show up on Russo and Jonathan Coachman's show, Coach and Bro. I thought the interview was exactly what you thought it would be, but you did need to cover it. Whether you agreed with it or not, you needed to cover it. We have some possible maybe corporation angle, right message, wrong messenger, in my opinion. We'll get to that too. Monday Night Raw goes off the air with Obafemi and Brock Lesnar kind of, I don't know if they kind of did this the way that they wanted to do it, but it just felt like, I don't know, something was missing, maybe done on purpose. They want us to want more. Who knows? The matches are announced for Saturday and Sunday for WrestleMania at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Myself and Jordan will be there. AEW Dynamite. Chris Jericho will have his first match back in AEW since about over a year now. So, and Kenny and MJF getting a lot of shine. Christian Cage is banging moms. That is not something that is new, by the way. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. But before we get to all that, Jordan, how are you?
Man, honestly, I'm tired. I'm tired. I've been working extra hours getting ready for this Vegas Mania trip. Just let everybody know, it's my first time going to Vegas, and it'll be my first ever WrestleMania. So I'm actually very, very excited. It's funny. I've been around some of the great WrestleManias. WrestleMania 17 was in Houston. It's about 4 hours for me. Not the play button Mania, but the first Mania where they started to boo Roman, the one in Dallas.
32?
32, yeah. I went to some after parties. I didn't go to but I went to some after, some watch parties, after parties type stuff.
This will be the second year in a row that I am taking or going with somebody to WrestleMania that has never been to WrestleMania. And it's always fun to see that experience and to watch. This will be my 15th working. Oh, wow. And going, but I will tell you, it's always a good, it's a fun experience to like see that. You almost see the inner child in a lot of people, and that's a good thing. So you'll have a lot of fun. Vegas isn't for everybody, I'll tell you that right now. My son wants to go desperately, but I told him it's not a place. I love you, Jackson. You know I would take you. I'm gonna take
more years, man.
I took you to SummerSlam at MetLife. I'm gonna take you to SummerSlam here in Minnesota. He doesn't watch the show, but maybe one day he will. That's the reason why I do content, is to have a lasting. For some reason I'm not here, they could always go back and maybe watch Dad. I don't care about the notoriety. I do it for them. So with that being said, Jackson will not be at WrestleMania because Vegas is really not for kids.
He's confirmed not going. But no, it's going to be my first time at a Mania, and dude, like as we get to we're going to be talking about Mania. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about Mania, especially from this past week. Personally, as a person who's first time going, one, I want to say thank you, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you taking me. Appreciate you. Wanting to work with me.
Listen, you paid your own way. Let's not let like you were. You were contributing to your own WrestleMania. I'm happy to facilitate the things I can facilitate.
Oh, but I
you're a
wouldn't
good
even
egg.
thought about going, because if it wasn't for you, like I just wouldn't have even thought about going. So I definitely appreciate just even the hey, you want to come along, because it's always cool to go to monumental events. As a person who went to All In Texas, which was pretty monumental, I can only imagine that it's that feeling multiplied by 10 because it's WrestleMania. It's a bigger, it's got history and things like that. So I'm really excited to go. So I've been putting in hours, getting ready for this. My vacation starts promptly next week. Very, very excited for this WrestleMania trip.
Yeah, the whole city takes over. And it's WrestleMania takes over a whole city, and it's a lot of fun. You'll see it. Vegas was when you get to Allegiant Stadium. I mean, the Strip had a little bit of stuff WrestleMania wise, but I mean, Vegas is Vegas. It's its own animal. So we'll have a lot of fun. There's a lot going on in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. There's a lot going on with my Islanders. That's why I have them on today. Got to show some love and support. We'll see what happens. They got 4 games to get in. Don't like where they're at right now, but we'll figure it out. But anyways, professional wrestling is why we're here. Sports entertainment is why we're here. Jordan, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to wait for our comrade to get to some more juicy stuff. So I'll throw you a bit of a softball here. And let's talk about so there was a match that was supposed to happen between MJF and Nick Nemeth. As we know, Nick Nemeth, the TNA talent, and now it seems like some of the TNA talent that was going to be working on this independent show alongside some of the AEW talent, it seems, have now been pulled off. And it's very interesting. We had an MJF tweet, some different reports coming out. So it's now officially being said that the match was pulled before MJF and he said anything. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Is this a nothing burger, or do you think there's a little bit more to this?
It's definitely not a nothing burger. I think the match being pulled from MJF and Nick Nemeth at I believe it was Cap Create a Pro, their show. Listen, they wanted that match. Tickets are sold because of the wrestlers involved in a match, not just wrestlers appearing. A lot of people were probably looking forward to this match, including myself. Do I like the fact that AEW wrestlers, the mainstays or like the champions, work independence? I don't, because for me, you get injured, my world champion, now I have to figure out how to get you off of my television. And I didn't even get that match didn't take place in my ring. So that I don't like. But, that's the draw from AEW, that they are allowed to take independent bookings if it is cleared by the office, which would probably be the one, Tony Khan. For me, I understand why this match was pulled. Do I like it? No. But I think that TNA and WWE is looking at this from an instance. If you're going to have this match, if I ever get a shot at MJF or whatever, this is going to be done under my banner, that being him going to another company. The other reason is I'm not quite sure I don't know whether the creative was bad, where I don't want Nick Nemeth to take a loss to MJF and make his AEW look far superior than TNA. There's a lot that goes into this. I don't think this is just hey, we're got to pull Nick Nemeth because I don't want TNA working independence. Then that came from WWE. I think there's a lot more to it. I think that that's a small portion of it, but I also do believe that who's winning this match, even though for the most part, wins and losses in professional wrestling really don't matter, this one does, because it's 2 outside people, 2 outside companies going against each other. So if MJF's going over Nick Nemeth, they're going to look at this and say, so you're basically telling me your guy's better than mine? I can't have it. We're going to scrap this, because they're both on the show. They're just doing separate things.
It's so, and I agree, but I think it's a bad look personally on TNA's end. One, exposure. And I'm not a numbers guy. We're not a numbers podcast, but LOL TNA. I'll just put it to you like that. LOL TNA.
There's the third number to this podcast. Hello, Juicy.
What's up, Juice? How you doing, man?
Oh, Nothing really crazy going on this week in pro wrestling, but I'm sure we'll find something to talk about.
So Jordan, you were saying TNA. You LOL TNA, and I hear you.
Because, well, like I said, their ratings, I'm just going to say it, their ratings are down and have been down since the AMC debut. You would think putting one of your guys in an independent program with someone else who, let's just call a spade, is a bigger star would help. You know, they say any publicity is good publicity, right? Even if Nick Nemeth wasn't going to go over, he probably wasn't, then, oh, well. I know you don't, you've always said this, and I agree with you, never book towards a match that's not going to happen, you know. So, yeah, I understand that he necessarily can't get his win back and he can't book another match possibly. So, yeah, sure, you want to protect your guy.
Well, the headlines are going to read this, Jordan, MJF over Nick Nemeth at Cap. And
they could have done a schmoz finish, though. We're acting like it has to be such a clean cut finish for a match that has two guys from separate companies. Like, there's no stories that create a pro. It's just a guy versus a guy.
Sure, but then here's the other thing too, right? Let's just say that is the case, all right? Or let's just say that, you know, Cap's going to have Nick show up more often than they could even probably think of MJF due to schedule conflict, booking, whatever. They want Nick to go over. I don't think AEW is going to be too pleased with that. That's my world champion. I think there's a lot of variables here, and I just think that there's a couple. One of them being, I think that TNA is being advised because Carlos Silva said it. You guys could fight with me all you want on social media, but Carlos Silva said this call came from above. Okay, and he had to do what he had to do. So I'm assuming the above is going to be WWE because I don't think there's anybody currently in TNA ahead of Carlos Silva. So, for me, I'm just going to say that I believe it's probably WWE in their working relationship. The other one probably being maybe the creative here. Maybe they had an idea. They don't, and now maybe AEW doesn't like it. Maybe TNA doesn't like it. I don't know. But there's multiple factors. And the fact that is what happens here is the fans lose, in my opinion. Now, both are going to show up, but they're in different things. So that leads me to believe that there is a creative difference. Because MJF's doing an open challenge and Nick Nemeth is facing Bear Bronson, I believe.
Do you think that, and I'll go to you, Juice, because you just joined us. Do you think that maybe we get a different outcome if it's not MJF? You know, maybe if a different stature of talent, someone who's not so high up on the card, do you think that maybe TNA/WWE says okay?
I just don't think, I know that's a hypothetical, but I'm not going to do hypotheticals because MJF is arguably the biggest star to come out of Creative Pro. So this is just how it was going to land. So MJF was always going to be there and be that guy. And I just know that, it probably was never going to be some other talent. And it could have been, done differently, or creative would have been whatever. But I still think you can have a match between two guys and not have a definitive finish and it not ruin anything on either side or for the fans there, because you can still have these guys interact on this show without it being a match with a definitive finish. So I don't think that possibility is out of the window either. And, Brian Myers is a big component of this as Creative Pros, like one of the coaches and guys that runs the whole damn thing. And he's a guy in TNA, friends with both those guys. I'm sure they can run some sort of thing, an angle, if you will, to get both guys involved without having a match. So I think the fans are actually going to be fine with whatever happens. That's just unfortunate that it's not going to be, a match that we probably like to see.
I think there's a lot to it too. There's a lot of TNA talent being pulled from a memorial show, I believe, during WrestleMania weekend, I believe. Yeah. Again, there's just where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, I don't want to spend any more time on this because we're shortened as it is due to the Tony Khan Dynasty media call, which I'll be a part of. So
you better not ask him any softballs, Drew.
I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to ask, but it's definitely not a softball, and I never do. Any questions that I ever ask are either about business. But this time I'm going to ask about contracts. So we'll have to wait and see. You might not answer it.
I'm not saying this because you're my friend, but I always think you have the best questions because I listen, and obviously follow on Twitter. I think you have some of the better questions, you and John Alba.
Oh, I appreciate that. And John's a good dude. For me, it's just like when I got to listen to people like ask a question for a minute and 30 seconds because they're trying to get their shit in, or they're trying to have Tony understand that they're knowledgeable about the wrestling business, time and place. It's not there. Okay. All right. Buy a ticket, fly in, maybe talk to Tony and tell him I've watched New Japan since the 70s and I could list every match just like you can. Maybe you guys have strike up a conversation, not while you have other media members sitting there trying to, work here.
Understandable.
I do this shit. I do this shit for the enjoyment. I do it for fun. I enjoy doing this with you guys. This is not my livelihood. There are people on the other end of the phone that are or on the other end of a Zoom call trying to get something or get to something. So let's get to it.
Gotta respect it. Gotta respect it. But to I think though, this whole situation ultimately, Andrew, I think you encapsulated it by saying the fans lose, because Bear Bronson, who was also taken off, I want to say, I believe him and MJF both came out of Creative Pro.
Yeah, and so, he's another student from CAP.
Yep. So it was just, this was like a homecoming, if anything. And so
there's a lot of talent that has come out of CAP. I mean,
yeah, Chris Statlander is another one.
Yeah, Hook didn't necessarily it's not like a well known, but Hook was in CAP for a little bit, and then he went to Cody Rhodes' school, I believe, and then he trained under QT Marshall. So, and there's a lot of AEW talent that came out of CAP or started at CAP. So, yeah, the fans lose. I get it, and I thought this match was kind of like, whoa, okay, this just came out of nowhere, and I was like, all right, very interested. And I feel bad for Brian Myers. I do, because I know that's Brian's stuff, and I think he wanted to put on a marquee match, and I feel for him.
And he had the lane and ability to do it. And of course, it's someone out of his control that says no, because he has the promotion. He's friendly with all these guys. He figures I can make it happen, and then someone cuts it out. It's
so I want to ask you guys really quickly something about this. Is getting a little bit deeper in the topic when we can move on. But do you guys think companies overreach when they pull talent from places like this? Because let's be honest, they are technically 1099. They are technically independent contractors, but we all know the workarounds and the loopholes exactly. But do you guys think
for tax purposes they're 1099? But I'm going to tell you this right now: like Randy Orton's not working CAP,
right?
Okay?
Right.
And it's because I have a financial investment in a large one.
And so is it, but do you think companies overstep when they pull because for example, Leon Slater's match was for I want to say, like, I'm not a charity, but it was a special reason.
It was a memorial show. And just to quickly talk about that, there was the Pillman Memorial in '99, and there were a lot of folks from WCW, WWF, ECW, and there were people that were taken off of that card due to the same thing. I don't think it's companies overstepping. I think they have every right to protect their investment, and they also can let talent do it too. That's the thing. Like, there have been other ways in the positive sense where wrestlers have been allowed to go do these things. I mean, Brett versus Terry Funk in what, 97, that was featured with Beyond the Mat. Like, that was allowed.
There was a lot of ECW talent on that show too. There's a lot of WWF talent on Terry Funk's retirement show. This has happened. Yeah, first one. And I'm with Juice. I'd be a hypocrite if I come on here and tell you that I think that every talent should be able to go work independence. Like, I know that's the lure and the pull for AEW for a lot of talents to sign there, because there's a possibility that where they'd be more open to allowing me to work independence. But I've screamed this from the mountaintops. Like Monet, MJF. I think it's great that they want to do these things, and good on them for getting a payday and continuing to have their name out there, because let's just call it what it is. This is an ego-driven business, and that's what this is. So fine. But if I'm Tony Khan, I'm looking at this and saying, boy, my world champion just worked HOG, and now he's going to work CAP. And, I mean, there's a potential I might not get MJF in the ring for Double or Nothing or Dynasty. If he got hurt at HOG, I don't like it. So I don't blame them. You want to take some talent that hasn't been on television for a little bit? I might be more open to that. I might be. I might even let Britt Baker go work an independent if she wants to work.
Or JCW,
But I doubt it. I think Britt makes a very good living staying out of the ring. So I'm just saying, but at that point, like, I don't know, Juice and Jordan, I'm not letting my world champions work independence. I'm not.
I agree. My only thing is that MJF is quite literally probably the biggest star to come out of the place he was going to work. So it would have been it's a little bit of a different situation, specifically with MJF. But I get it because he's world champion and he's worked there before. I think, doing some stuff intermittently as he's been with AEW, because I like that though. He pays it forward to any fans of Cap or people that are around there, wrestlers that are going to come through. You get to wrestle the world champion.
Yeah, this has happened before all the time. Yeah, different time, but yes, this will happen before. It'll happen again. But we've spent a quarter of the show on this, so let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
I blame Jordan.
Juice, you want to throw one?
Oh, I mean, we only have a half hour. We're going to, I'm sure, close with Dynasty predictions, but I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about one of two things. Whichever you want to do is up to you.
First of all, the Dynasty predictions could be very quick, so we could do that in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean,
fine, because I've got two topics that I think we would really like to dive into, and I will give the floor to either of you to pick. But the first topic could be the obvious Tony Khan appearance on Vince Russo and the Coaches podcast. And the other topic is the involvement of Pat McAfee in the Randy Orton Cody Rhodes match. Two highly contested things, and I think we'll have a lot to say. So,
all right, go ahead. What do you want to
know? Because there's a lot of what do you want to know from that?
Coach and Bro. I mean, I'll say my piece on the Coach and Bro interview with Tony Khan, and then you guys can have the floor. I thought the interview was I thought the interview part was good. I liked everything that they kind of asked with Tony, because they are saying themselves, we don't want to ask softballs. We can ask what we want, and you'll give us whatever. And Tony, God bless him, gave as many quality answers and in depth that he could without, Coach intervening or interrupting or telling him to look at the camera. I felt Vince Russo, for a lot of the crap that he gets, came off a lot better than I feel like anticipated coming into this interview. And I liked seeing those two, Tony Khan and Vince Russo, interact, quite frankly, because you get to see a legend of the writing creative process in the late 90s, all these years later, still kind of asking similar questions in that realm to the guy that's running a show now. I did feel the Coach was a little bit condescending with Tony, and he should have been more humble with, I'm thankful we got this interview, instead of telling the interviewee how to act or do whatever. But Tony is a professional and glided right through it. Overall, I thought it was interesting, and I think it could open the door for more opportunities with him going to these different shows. So when's Tony coming on No Dirt, Just Dialogue, Drew?
I have already talked to Tony about doing an interview, so wew see. I talked to him before he accepted Coach and Bro, because that, to me, listen, I think Tony's smart. But what do you guys want to? What do you want to ask me about this interview?
So I just want to say, I watched the interview and I liked it. First off, I'll go ahead and say, before this comes off, yes, I do not like Coachman. I have a thing against Coachman, so let me just start that out now. That being said, I thought this interview was great, but I thought those two guys are as fake as fuck. I think Coach is a hypocrite. Vince Russo's a proven liar. These are guys who, for months, went in on Tony, and his product and his creation for months, talked about him. And then all of a sudden you want to, oh my gosh, he's the nicest guy ever. Oh man, he's such a nice, but that's good.
Hey Jordan, can you look at the camera, please? Jordan, can you look straight into the camera, please? Thank you. Continue.
Okay, sorry. So that I don't know. I think that the interview itself, I just don't. It was great. The questions were great, but I just don't respect two men who will talk about you behind your back and then want to be friendly in your face. I understand they have to be professional.
So the wrestling,
it's just not something I respect. I know it's the wrestling business, but again, to some of the stuff that Vince Russo and Coachman said, you go down their timelines, they would go hard at Tony. And Coachman, for no reason, mind you, Coachman just popped back up in the wrestling scene, but a couple of years ago, right? So It's just I thought the interview was great, but overall I thought it was done in very bad faith. It's very clear that Russo and Coachman tried to get a moment out of Tony, and Tony, being the consummate professional, no sold it. He, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm here to do a job, man.
I think Tony kind of surprised them with how he responded to some stuff, and I think Vince was at the end being like, it almost came off like Vince might have come in with like guns a-blazing, and yet by the end he's like, you know what? I think I kind of agree with this guy. And it was just funny to watch it all unfold. And Coach is just sitting there like a bump on a log trying to get more answers when, quite frankly, there might not have been answers. Tony Khan seems like a nice guy. I'm sorry, I'm not kissing ass. He seems like a nice, humble guy. I've never met him, but he seems like a really nice guy. And I know that pisses off a lot of people. A nice guy with a lot of money that runs a pro wrestling company. Yeah, Three things that wrestling fans despise.
Yeah, I mean, Russo said that in his tweet. Russo said that, like, Tony Khan has no place in the wrestling business because he's too nice. And he said that, you know, basically, I'm paraphrasing here, but that's basically what he said. I mean, again, I'll ask you to, because you went on your feelings and your opinions on the show, which is what you're here to do. But what do you want to ask me about this interview?
So I want to ask you specifically, do you think this was a good look for AEW? Do you think this was a good look for Tony Khan?
Yes. So I think Tony came off like he has in the past, like, I don't know, I would say like 6 to 12 months, where it's very buttoned up. It's very professional. He doesn't really evade. He'll answer things that he can answer. And if he can't answer it, he'll still answer it, but in a way where it's not like the first Ariel Helwani interview. I can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. Then what was the point of the show? And Tony also doesn't get into the weeds, where he doesn't take the bait. There's a lot of people, even Coach and Russo, take the bait on some things. And Tony didn't do that. I think it was a great look on AEW. Great. I think it was a great look on Tony too. I think he showed his chops here. He gets a lot of shit, Tony does, for a lot of different things. But I think Tony has vastly improved the way he handles people trying to come at him, or even a quote unquote no softball question interview, I should say. But I'll give you one of the things that I don't think a lot of people are talking about on this, and then I'll let you guys ask more questions on what I thought about it or what you want to hear from me. This seemed to me like very much a two-man interview after a certain part. I thought Coach telling, and I stand by this, and Coach even brought it up on his show today, I do not think it was in any way, shape, or form professional for Jonathan Coachman to tell Tony Khan on air where to look. There's a chat in here where I could talk to my two gentlemen that are here with me, and I could say, stop smiling. Take your hat off. I can't see your eyebrows. Whatever. There's also a producer that could do this to them as well. They both have earpieces in. There's also a contact number on my cell phone for both of them that I could, and I'm sure that maybe they're on it or maybe it's by them. Time and place. And I stand by this, and I wish Coachman the best. I don't have any real beef with anybody, and I'm not your, well, I mean that though. I'm not your I'm not your typical, I would say wrestling fan. Okay. I'm 6'3", 200. And I played sports and everything else like that. Like, I'm not your 5'5". I'm going to meet you in person and be like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any of it. That's not me. I stand by what I said. And I do believe that was Coachman trying to show his interview and media training chops. And it was right place, wrong place, wrong time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that. You don't do it. You just don't do it. You didn't need to do that to Tony Khan. Like, you don't think Tony knows where to look? He obviously was either his camera was set up a different way or whatever. You could have done that privately. You doing it publicly.
Just do it before the show. What are we kidding me?
And in my opinion, doing that made him look like he was trying to big dick him and be like, I know exactly what, how this is done, how this is supposed to be shot. And for me, the tide turned with Tony and him right then and there. After the second time, it felt like Coach wasn't a part of this conversation with Russo and TK. And TK overly praised Russo. And I agree with what TK was saying. Here's my thought pattern with Russo. Russo's been in the trenches. Russo was on Vince's private plane. He was in those meeting rooms. He was in Vince's house creatively. He was in his Miami house for creative. He was Vince's right-hand man. I mean, Russo did it, whether you respect him or whether you don't. There's a huge difference between a production meeting and creative meetings and deciding where the company goes with certain stars and everything else like that. Russo was in the trenches. So if Coach wants to pretend or fabricate, so be it. I know what he did in WWE. I know the meetings he was a part of. And I also know some of the things he did in WWE. I know he had a football pool. I know all this other stuff. I'm very well versed on Jonathan Coachman, and I have no ill will. But let's not pretend like you were just trying to help out Tony Khan. I know exactly what you were doing because I'm looking right into this camera, what you wanted Tony to do. And I'm telling you, you know, and everybody else knows exactly what you were doing. So cut the shit.
You may not have a personal gripe, but I do. And I've told you this, and I'll go ahead and tell you guys. The reason why, and you said it yourself, when Coachman it became a two-man interview. And the reason why is because Jonathan Coachman is a charlatan. He's a grifter. He's a man who built his name off of the wrestling business. And then once he got a call from ESPN, he wanted to detach himself from anything and everything wrestling. And then the moment he got fired, the moment he got let go, it was, let me start tweeting about wrestling again. Let me get back into the wrestling business. And he does it with bad faith, right? And you can tell because he treated Tony Khan as if he was an independent promoter, not as if this is a man who owns a soccer team, an NFL team, and a wrestling company.
I thought that the interview was fine. I really do believe that. I think there were a couple things that I looked at and I was just like, oh, you don't need to do this. There was a lot of questions and valid points and good questions, and I understand like you got to sell yourself, but Vince Russo and Jonathan Coachman telling Tony Khan, you got a masterclass today from us too. I thought to myself, boys, come on. You know,
act like they've been there before, but let's be real. They have not been there before, or at least one of them has only been there before to interview people. And that was on screen. Russo's been like you said, in the trenches doing these types of things. And again, he came off way more in a better light than Jonathan Coachman did. And I know that he promotes it as in good faith, but it's under a very dark veil of it being in bad faith, trying to get a gotcha moment, trying to get a viral moment, trying to not being satisfied with what TK is saying, but by saying like asks him for an answer, gets the answer, goes, yeah, but Tony, I really gotta just ask you again. Like he's just not satisfied with answers. Is that how you conduct interviews? Russo would, was a little long-winded in how he would phrase a question, but he didn't ask again if he wasn't excited for the answer.
Yeah, listen, I trained professional wrestling. I never wrestled a match, so I'm not going to tell people when they should duck instead of, dodge or shit can or whatever, duck under clothesline. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to critique it either because it's just not what you're going to do. I took broadcast journalism classes. I have a bachelor's in sports management and a minor in psychology. That doesn't.
I have a degree in journalism.
Journalism, exactly. And you, perfect example, are not going to take your opportunity with Tony Khan and tell him this or that, and you should be looking at this. And then, come on, man. Like, we're all here for one reason. We want to hear your quote unquote hard questions. And for the most part, they did a really good job with their questions. But I didn't like the fact that they pretended like their audience that was watching had nothing to do with TK. And I'm trying to grow your audience. Brother, Tony Khan just gave you the biggest house you've ever had.
Trying to grow. And that's my problem. They tried to sit here, maybe not Vince. I think Vince came in and then, this is something I told you probably. They were they weren't, defeated or anything like that. They were just de-weaponized. Like all of their big guns that they had to ready to shoot at Tony came in, just the peace guy, like, man, I'm not here for that. Like, would you chill out? And so when you come in with all this animosity and somebody's just like cool, calm, and collected, you come off like an asshole, Jonathan Coachman. And like that's just straight. You come off like an, and that's why Vince Russo. You look at it, Vince Russo looks better because he started to have a genuine connection. With
Yeah, yeah. He sounded like he just wanted to like talk to Tony after the fact and not just like go in and try to get some stuff that quite frankly isn't there. And like digging for answers is not the way to interview somebody.
Tony was very complimentary of Russo, and again, something I took away from this was that Tony really did not acknowledge for the most part or even praise Coach or anything else like that. He was very complimentary of Russo. And you want to know what? Like I said, there
was nothing there to praise with Coachman.
They did real. Listen, both of them did their job. I am not going to sit here and hate because there's no point in it. I just didn't like the way that some of the things were portrayed, but it is what it is. I'm good on them for getting the interview. I just think there were some things that, and it's all the Carney business. I get it. But man, if that was your audition, if that was your one impression that you're going to make, you're going to leave a mark on Tony Khan, I think you missed the mark. Not Russo. Coachman. That's just me.
It seems kind of delusional too, of like thinking that like this audience was not there purely because of Tony Khan, as if like this is like what did you say, like thanked him for the house, like it. I don't know. It was interesting. Something more interesting in the realm of pro wrestling though, I thought I'd like to discuss, and I got a lot of somewhat positive but some negative about it, is this Pat McAfee integration into the Orton Cody match, which quite frankly, I'll give my point immediately. I didn't think it needed it. Pat McAfee, love him or hate him, I think he is a more natural babyface to a lot of the fans. So like forcing him to be a heel just doesn't work, especially when we're like 2.5 weeks away from WrestleMania. And my other point was then on Monday, 2 days later, we do the CM Punk seemingly pipe bomb 2.0, a very intriguing promo. And he went off on a lot of different things. And the stuff that he listed within that, talking about Orton and Cody and McAfee, I felt did more for the Orton, Cody, McAfee match, all that thing, than McAfee's promo on Friday, which says a lot. So I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I agree with the last statement you said. I think CM Punk did way more.
Yeah, and it's not his match.
For Orton and Rhodes than the Pat McAfee segment last week or on Friday did. The CM Punk thing is interesting to me, and I'm a Punk guy, okay? I enjoy CM Punk's work, always have, always will. I enjoy him as a person. But I will tell you that it's kind of like great message, wrong messenger for me. CM Punk kind of being this face of the IWC, that doesn't fit CM Punk. He's not that guy. He's not. He's
not anymore.
Well, I wouldn't say of the IWC, but he was trying to speak for just fans in general.
Well, because he wasn't. I get it. The big business, I get it. But
which is what he's been doing.
But CM Punk also talked about how much money he made, and he told one of the biggest billionaires that to go F himself, and he's got money and doesn't need to work. And now we're talking about
first promos back in WWE was, "I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money."
And that's what I'm saying. So it came off. I was like, this is a really, really good promo. But CM Punk delivering it felt strange, but I see what they're trying to accomplish. And the mission at hand and the bigger picture is, it seems as if, like I tweeted, I want to say a month ago, that Punk and Rhodes are going to be the wrestling, the writers, the IWC's picks, the fans' picks.
The fans, yeah.
Corporate,
fans' choice.
Corporate is going to be Roman Reigns and Randy Orton. And could we have The Rock involved? Pat McAfee's clearly involved.
And I agree with that comment. Pat could have easily been on the good side, being like, don't you think tickets are high? He could have sold that so much better, and people would have rallied behind that. When he's talking about it in a negative light, it just doesn't do anything for me.
Speaking of light, this light's killing me. But Pat McAfee on SmackDown, Pat has always been the biggest spokesperson for WWE, like the biggest flag waver and bearer. And now it's like,
and started as a fan where people are like, oh, I know that guy. Like, he loves WWE like me.
Yeah. I I think we're again, I think there's a lot of things that are coming out where people are like, oh, I don't think Cody was told to say any of this stuff, and I don't think Punk was allowed to say any of this stuff. I think there's a lot of working going on, boys.
Oh, it's in my bio. Everything is a work.
I'll tell you this. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. You know,
buying what?
All of it. I'm not buying
for what? Yeah, tell me. Elaborate.
Pat McAfee coming in, I don't believe it. It doesn't feel like
as a heel. No, it feels forced.
I don't believe it. I don't feel it. You know, it feels very manufactured. Maybe this has to do with, there was a report that he at first turned down the story and
that's what made him a babyface to me. I'm like, he saw that this is an awful idea to make him the bad guy here. What? Like, come on.
For one, if I'm WWE, I would have done my damnedest to not let that story get out. You know, I would have done my damnedest to, hey, we can't let the people know that even you rejected it. But I don't believe it. And then even more so with the pipe bomb. Well, I will say this. I agree that Punk did more for their story than they even did. Yeah, but right. I don't believe, because you got corporate money Punk coming in. Sure. Right. It wasn't that long ago where he was in a suit doing an interview saying that we don't need to listen to the IWC. You know, who are the IWC to book this or book that? And now here you are, you're supposed to be my voice. Right.
I also want to say, I also want to say this has a lot, and I know it's not apples to apples. I'm fully aware of that. This has a lot of echoes of the Travis Scott involvement from last year. It seems kind of shoehorned in for whatever reason they want to give you.
This year, could we actually get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson instead of last year? Everyone was
maybe, but at least The Rock was a part of the Elimination Chamber thing.
But I think that The Rock has. And I've said this before, I think The Rock is watching from afar, and now there's a lot of complaints going on.
Via satellite.
Right, via satellite. Whether it's storyline-wise, ticket price-wise, attendance-wise, your sisters-wise, you name it. There's a lot going on from afar that you can watch and say, all right, now we'll pull the trigger. I'll save this shit. And I think that's where we're headed. I think Pat McAfee, I believe the report that went out, that Pat said no originally, because it realistically didn't make any sense. And then maybe they said, hey, Pat, listen, this is going to end with the possibility of Vince and The Rock. Let's just use those two for an example. I think Pat's like, all right, I'm in. I'll be the first guy out the gate. And then we'll have, and Pat kind of alluded to this a little bit. He was like, you know, maybe I'm not the only caller. And again, maybe they pivoted. Maybe Pat was supposed to be this reveal. And then they went online and they're looking and reading YouTube comments and they're like, I don't know. I don't see that to be the case, because I don't think Pat comes back to this storyline when he already declined it if there's not a bigger picture and a bigger reveal. And like I said, you're not revealing The Rock 2 weeks before WrestleMania. I could easily see The Rock's F-150 pull into Allegiant Stadium towards the end of that match. Bing, bang, boom. There you go.
The one thing, though, that really just this whole both main event programs don't sit well with me right now, because anytime you have to trot out your top guys, whether it be after the show, Cody Rhodes, or going off the script, which, by the way, guys, if you didn't know this, the 2014 pipe bomb written, the 2026 pipe bomb also written.
It was in 2011, but
oh yeah, I'm sorry, he left 2014. Yeah, 2011.
It's a work shoot, but we still love it.
But here's the thing, though, and this is where, like, as a fan, and I hope to talk to other fans and they hear me when I say this, they're playing in our faces. You created a villain to just place this superhero that you already had. You had a hero. You just didn't have a villain. Now you've made yourselves the villain, which is a very easy cop-out, because, you're CM Punk's talking about ticket prices. Well, why were the tickets so high to begin with? Like, we don't talk about that. We're talking about the tickets being high, but not the royalties rather high to begin with.
Again, I think this is part of the bigger picture that they're trying to, all right, what will resonate if Punk goes out there? All right, the ticket prices will. All right, we got to make Punk, because if we're going in this direction with my corporate or the TKO the board, whatever they're going to call it, the corporation. These guys got to be so what? We're making money off all you idiots. Big deal. Punk needs to be the guy who's like, no, we need to give back to the fans. And Cody's always been about the fans. He started doing $10,000 for my bus. Seems insane, but I'm going to give them the best possible experience they can. That type of stuff. The seeds have been planted. I agree with you. Right message, maybe wrong messenger. I get it. It's also
this is where they are, though.
Right. But it's also tone deaf to me where Cody's in, and I love Cody, custom suits to the 9, but he's going to tell you that it's not the ticket price. Like, that's how you're making your money,
you can't
brother.
Sit here and tell me, oh, ticket prices are too high. Brother, you're wearing Tom Ford. Like, I'm not trying to hear that. You're wearing Tom Ford and you just charged me $10,000 to get on a tour bus.
Yeah, and Randy's in a t-shirt and like Adidas or Lululemon pants. Like there's a vast
WWE merch, yeah.
Right. So that, the visuals, like the perception thing. So that's why I think that's where they missed the mark. Because,
it's all about the details, Drew.
Yeah, and it is. And the devil's in the details. And for me, that's why I think they trot out Cody and they trot out Punk, and they're hammering the things that the internet wrestling community or the fans can relate to, instead of maybe having Cody come out in his QB1 gear, his zip up and his sweatsuit or whatever. Punk has always never been and he's never been a suit and tie guy. But at this point, if this is where we're headed, visual impressions are huge. I mean, and maybe they're doing this on purpose too, because they don't want Randy to be in a suit and tie yet until we get past Mania. I could see that as well. I could see it, because then they're giving you too much. If Randy comes out in a suit and tie this week on SmackDown, people are like, what the hell's going on? But Cody can start dressing down a little bit for me.
They only got 2 weeks left, so I hope they do something.
I do have a point that I would like to ask you guys, because we know this ownership group is different. This is not like, because you brought up something which I think a lot of sentiments, people are thinking like, oh, it's just going to be Corporation 2.0. But this is a different corporation. This is a different group. So I'll ask, how long do you guys think TKO will be the bad guy? How long do you think they're going to be okay with
storyline-wise?
Storyline-wise, but see, the thing is, when it comes to these corporate story,
if you're asking business-wise, they do not give a shit what you think.
Oh, business-wise, I'm sure they don't.
Care about their bottom line. And
so if you look at them as a heel because of that, then they're going to be heel for the rest of eternity.
They're going to look at this, and they're going to make the same amount of money, if not a little bit more, off WrestleMania this year, and they're going to have less people. There's going to be less people at WrestleMania this year. So basically, if you're asking, when will TKO care? When people stop buying tickets, or people stop subscribing to Netflix, or stop subscribing to ESPN Unlimited.
But they have stopped buying tickets.
Yeah, but some have. But and now listen, I'm with you. I think the prices are stupid. You want an ass every 18 inches, but you can't discredit the numbers. If it's me, I want the real wrestling fans in the building. I want them as loud as possible, because then I know who's over, who's not. But now what they're doing is they're looking at this from the UFC model and some of the NFL model. All right, how much can we charge for these seats? People are going to pay them, and we're still going to make the same amount of money? Screw it. Let's do it. That's what they're doing. When people stop coming out and stop spending thousands of dollars on seats, then you'll get your change that you want. But it's not, and you're asking when are they going to stop being the bad guys? They're not, until they can't make money, and then they'll be like, oh, well, we want to give back to the fans. Save your hogwash and your bullshit for somebody else. We know why you're slashing ticket prices. We know it.
It's just an interesting, because these work shoot corporate stuff, it gets a little dicey. It gets a little dicey because, like, again, it feels like we have two Stone Colds on our hands that we're trying to do, because Stone Cold was going up against the man and the corporation and whatnot. So it feels like we have two on our hands, and it's just, this stuff can get dicey. I just feel like it can get real dicey. And I feel like, yes, fans are still buying, but those who are on the fence, those who are teetering, I think you're going to push them off. And I think you got to be careful with these work shoots.
For sure. And then, there was a debate where people were like, oh, they should have kept it in New Orleans. The fuck they should? What are you guys, crazy? If they were keeping it in New Orleans, they would make less money. WWE is making an insane amount of money off site fees from Vegas. They get the buildings, hotels, comp. They also get the tax credit, which we just saw Brandon Thurston and WrestleNomics put out. I mean, I think it's $9 million before they even set down into Las Vegas to run the events that they already have. New Orleans, I think the attendance would have been worse. You mean to tell me you think the locals in New Orleans, the casuals, are going to buy those tickets at those prices? I doubt it. The diehards even not as well. You go to Vegas and some people will fly down there. They'll gamble their nuts off and swim and drink. And then they'll be like, hey, what's going on tonight? WrestleMania? All right, let's go. That's what I'm talking about. You're not getting that in New Orleans. I love New Orleans. For me as a fan, I would have loved, and to cover it, I love New Orleans way more than I love Vegas. But I see the business sense in why they went back to Vegas, because they saw the writing on the wall. We can make a lot more money if we go back to Vegas. And I don't know about this New Orleans stuff.
I mean, like I said, we've talked about it. Especially considering that their next slate of the big four are not even in America. Yeah, no, double dip, get your money. You know, I get it.
SummerSlam's going to be loaded this year because I would say, and the Rumble, SummerSlam and the Rumble will be loaded. I've talked about this with Blake Mitch more privately because I believe that the American fan and even North America as a whole, I don't believe majority of us are traveling to Saudi Arabia if that WrestleMania takes place in Saudi.
No.
I cannot. You know.
All right, we got 5 minutes, so we'll do this rapid fire. I'll take the wheel here. Jon Moxley, Will Ospreay, AEW Dynasty. They got a lot of time on Dynamite yesterday. They opened and closed basically without Kenny and MJF with that segment that a lot of people were complaining about that it went too long, but I didn't hate it. United Empire showed up. I didn't hate the fact that they showed up a week earlier, because if they showed up during, you owe me a bucket of beers in Las Vegas. Yes. If they showed up during the match at Dynasty, people would have been like, "Who the hell are these people?" Like, I know.
Oh, they're doing that anyway.
I know, but I'm just
former
saying,
referees are saying that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, they're reintroducing them to the AEW crowd, and it was smart. And I get it. Not a lot of people know who they are, but majority of that diehard fan base does know who United Empire is. So I ask you guys, Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay, singles match for the Continental Championship. I think Will Ospreay's on an upward trajectory towards the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. I think that happens in London. I don't know if he needs this championship over Mox, so I'm going to go with Mox.
I don't know, because I think there was rumors about we're getting a Continental Cup. So if you ask me, I think what was going to happen, seeing that Will's on this trajectory, I can see Will winning, converting the title into a cup, because Will doesn't really need the title. You know, he doesn't need to be constricted to 20-minute matches. So I think maybe it converts into like a cup from there and something like that. But personally, I've got Will Ospreay winning. There's no way you're going to have him come back after all of these vignettes and then have him lose in his first big match back.
It's a great point, and I could see it going both ways. Juice?
I disagree. I think Jon Moxley will win by hook or by crook, and if it's in a negative way, that only helps boost his heel status and boost Will Ospreay's babyface, favorability as he tries to contend for the world title, probably by winning the Owen at Double or Nothing. So
yeah. Real quickly on this, because I won't have time to address it. They have double dipped WrestleMania 4 and WrestleMania 5.
There's a reason why someone's in the Hall of Fame, and that's the exact reason.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the AEW Women's World Heavyweight Championship. This is a no-brainer. This doesn't need a long response here. Tekla is white hot. She retains this over Jamie Hayter, who we haven't seen really in this title picture in a while. So I'm going with Tekla. Tekla rolls all the way to London for me. Juice? Or
I agree. I agree. I think Tekla should win. She's on a heater, and keep the train rolling. It's nice to have some longevity with these title reigns, even if we know where the end game could be.
Jordan. Yeah, I got Tekla. Simple and sweet Tekla. It's going to be a good match.
All right. Let's talk about the Casino Gauntlet. This is going to probably be our longest, talking point here on the show. Tommaso Ciampa and Rush are in. A lot of people gave me a lot of slack. I did mean to put Bandito, and I put Roche in my thing that I was talking about when I was like, oh, I think this person, that person should be, kind of upward trajectory. But Roosh is back here and in a kind of prominent spot. He is one of 2 people announced. I think this is Tommaso's match to lose, but I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know the competitors, but for me, I think Tommaso should win this one because he was just the TNT champion before he lost to Fletch or Briscoe and then all that other stuff. So Juice,
I will agree, and without spoiling anything, I can't even spoil it. Then I guess I'm not going to spoil it. But I saw some collision things that happened, and that leads me to believe. Okay, well, it leads me to believe that if this person is involved, I think Speedball could be your next TNT champion.
Okay, there you go. Jordan?
I think that this is the time to actually finally start to get behind Roosh. He's done good work in ROH for the past 3-4 months. Roosh is a talent you don't want to piss off, and when I say don't want to piss off, like you got to repay him. You know he's been working hard. You got to throw him a bone, and I think this is a bone to throw him. I think this is now. I know they're both heels, but I know Tommaso Ciampa also could help. So I got it between those two. I got it between those two.
You got to pick one. Come on, you got to pick one.
I'm going Roosh then. I'm going Roosh.
He goes Roosh. FTR Cope and Cage AW Tag Team Championships. I'm going Cope and Cage. I think this is the beginning of the run all the way to London, where we get some sort of either TLC or ladder match. Jordan, quick.
This is going to be an easy. There's probably open the show. Cope and Christian winning it.
There you go. Juice.
Normally, I would have said FTR by way of some interference to then potentially get that triple threat at Double or Nothing. But because it's in Canada, I think you put the belts on CNC.
Edge. Oh, excuse me. Copeland and Christian going to have fun with some other people's mothers, I guess, at the end of this one. Let's talk about Jericho and Ricochet. A lot of people made a lot to do about this. I think this is a good match for Jericho. Ricochet, I think, is probably going to eat a pinfall loss here or a submission. I don't think this is the only time we see Jericho on this show, this pay-per-view, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think this is a safe match. It'll be a good one, too. And again, Jericho doing the list of Jericho, basically. I don't hate it. Juice, quickly. Jericho, Ricochet.
Yeah, I think Jericho will win, and some people were critical of that list. Who cares? It's Jericho's thing. He does it very well. Leave it alone.
He was going to do it in WWE. Tony was like, "Yeah, do it here." Jordan.
Really quickly, something that you pointed out a week ago. And it's now official. He dropped the Chris, and we're going by Jericho. He's still wearing purple. So let's just kind of that.
The artist formerly known as Chris Jericho.
So let's just.
The artist formerly known as Chris.
This is the possible best spot you could put him in with a guy like Ricochet, another seasoned vet. I've got Chris winning though. Ricochet can handle the loss. His stature is not going to be hurt. So I got Jericho.
All right, MJF, Kenny Omega. I'm going MJF. Quickly, boys. I got to jump. So MJF or Kenny Omega. I think we get MJF by way of Chris Jericho.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are not as privileged to be on this call, so I will conclude with MJF winning and retaining and flipping off Carlos Silva as he holds the title of Hangman.
I've got Kenny winning by Hangman interference.
Ooh, okay. All right, Jordan, where can everyone like, subscribe, and follow you?
You can find me at the Russell Collective podcast later today. That is at WC Worldwide on Twitter, or the Russell Collective YouTube channel here on YouTube. You can follow me, my personal Twitter, at slick_flair91.
Juice.
At Juicy Steen on Twitter, where you can argue with me, troll me, block me, mute me, but talk to me. I'm there every single week, every Friday. We got the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. This week, AEW Dynasty predictions with the one and only Phil We Met.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Little Phil action, yeah.
Little Phil action. You sounded like that. What's that U2 song? Hold Me, Thrill Me. Is that the song? Am I getting that wrong?
Hold Me, Kiss.
Yeah, it's from Batman Forever. That's the only reason why I know that song. I am at Andrew Baydala. Bring your takes, bring your comments, bring your concerns. Bring whatever. 9 times out of 10, I'll probably just either hit you with a Marge Simpson do because you sound ridiculous, or I'll just answer you as best I possibly can. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications so that when we go live, you will know here on Final Bell Media. Hit that like, subscribe, and follow button. We appreciate all of you who joined us today. Be kind. It's just professional wrestling. Don't take life too seriously. Don't take professional wrestling too seriously. Make sure you connect with your friends and your family. That's what it's all about. What is this? If these
Cue the
guys are
frog.
worth all substance.
I can't even. I
If
can't
they're with
even.
Andrew,
replaced again?
no, he's saying he said it. He said if they're with us, make sure you sub to him. So I agree.
Jordan, didn't you get buried in a space the other day by someone
Hi, guys.
saying that
Hi,
Andrew
guys.
carried you?